Well met, lords and ladies, and welcome to the Throne Room. This is episode 3 of the video game podcast that may forever change your fealty. I'm your host, David Klingel, and I'm joined by a couple of other noble game-playing enthusiasts, Anre Borges Brown,
How's it going?
Touchdown, and Zach Oliver.
Hey guys, how's it going?
All right, well, how's it going this week, guys? Anything new? What you playing?
Anre?
Let's see. I have been playing Outriders, and obviously I'm always playing Madden and Cyberpunk 2077. The games have not changed, although I have been playing way more of Outriders than I have in the past. I really, really am enjoying it. A lot of games kind of do like a mix of powers and weapons, and Outriders does a very good mix. I really like it. You know, you always feel like you have your power up. I mean, you don't. It's on a cooldown, but it's so, it's so quick usually, and there are ways to augment it. And the more you play it, the better the systems get. The more you feel empowered. The more ways to kill enemies you have, which is always nice. You know, you always want more ways to kill people in general in video games. Mainly Outriders.
Yeah, it's been a great game. I've been having a lot of fun with it still, and I'm a bit further ahead than you are. And yeah, I definitely agree with everything you've said. The game just feels better the more you play it, the more ways to change your build and make it unique. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I can't wait to get to really a lot of the end game content that I haven't been able to try yet, but I'm getting close, and it's already starting to feel like that.
Square Enix.
Good
job, Square Enix.
Yeah, I told you they'd do it. I told you they'd make it. They'd make it work.
Let's just sweep that
They're singing a victorious anthem right now. I'll play Outriders until the day I die. All right, Zach, what about you, man? What do we got over there?
Victory Fanfare, by the way, is the name of that song. Go.
I've been also playing some Outriders. I started a new character. I don't think we've talked about this since then. It is now, I don't know, I just didn't feel like the Trickster was my playstyle, so I switched to Taskmaster? What is it?
Technomancer.
Technomancer.
Yeah, that's my main class. He's fun.
So that's what I switched to, and I'm having a lot more fun of a time after I switched to that class. Level 20 on that one.
Okay, you got the blighted rounds then already, right?
Yeah.
Oh, those things are wicked, man.
Which is absurd. Like, there's that one skill that does 40% damage if toxic is inflicted on an enemy.
Yeah, well, they've reduced it now. I mean, they just did a nerf on it, which it was 30%, and now they dropped it to half of it, which is 15%. But I'll let everyone know that that's negligible. Since I've been playing, I don't even feel I still feel powerful. I still feel like I'm doing a crap load of damage. It just feels like not overly overpowered. It feels right in a sense. So it's actually a nerf that doesn't really feel nerfed. It just feels right, you know?
Yeah, no, it was I was talking about this class skill. There's one that buffs it up to like 40%. I think, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong.
Somewhere around.
Probably. You're probably wrong. It's okay. I think you're talking about what I'm talking about, and it's in the skill tree there. And if toxic is applied, you deal an extra 15% damage. Now, there's 2 of them, so it's a total of 30, but it used to be 15, and the last one was 30, and so they bumped that down to 15 to make it more balanced. And it feels more balanced. It doesn't feel like they wrecked my build or anything, so that's good. Yeah.
Which I have some comments on about why they're already fixing the game, but that's for later on, I guess. Anyway, I've been playing that. Persona 5 still working my way through that. Don't know if I'll ever finish that one.
Yeah, I think you will.
I'm devoted to this time, and looking forward to diving into Strikers whenever I'm done. So Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Dave? What have you been playing?
Yeah, man. So, more Outriders just like you guys. And we found out today, actually, that Anre and I'm playing on PC. Anre's playing on the PS5. And we had a very easy time linking up and cross-playing together. Yes. It was fantastic. Yeah. What do you think about that, Anre?
Yeah. At first, we just... I just made a code, gave it to him, he put it in, boom.
Bam, we were seamless. There. In a way that other games have promised crossplay, and I haven't... And, it was like, you had crossplay, okay, but then you had to randomly hope you got in the game with your friend. It wasn't like a direct link like this, so... Yeah.
This is straight drop and play co-op, man.
It's very impressive.
Now that we're on each other's friends list, we don't even have to do that. We just, boom, the click of a button. We didn't have any problems playing multiple missions, and then just kind of kept the
progress going. Yeah,
it was great. I do want to mention though, it would be awesome, Zach, if you were playing as Taskmaster, because that nice little Square Enix cross game synergy might be what they need to boost Avengers.
Get out of here! No, we're gonna hope everyone forgets that existed. Oh man, what? Okay, Avengers. Wow. With as good as Outriders was doing, I almost forgot that they had made Avengers. They made Avengers, bro.
Yeah. They made an Avengers game.
Yeah.
Legend has it.
We hope not. We hope we all forget about it. All right, well, so I've been playing Outriders, and I've also been playing Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which I have been really enjoying. I'm currently at the last mission, and I'm waiting to do that. And next week we will do a reviewing for Ori and the Will of the Wisps, where I will play the last mission, and we will talk about thoughts since you guys both did the initial viewing. So, been having a lot of fun with Ori and looking forward to finishing that up with you guys.
Fun fact on that one, I saw that it is now on Switch. I wasn't sure if it was.
That is a perfect home for this game. I love Metroidvania platformers on my handhelds. Always have.
Yeah, because the first one was on Switch, and I think they were, it was delayed coming on Switch because of Xbox and whatever. And I was in GameStop the other day and saw that it was already on Switch, so that was exciting news to hear.
Yeah, that's really cool. And had I known that, I might have just gotten it on. I might have gotten it on the Switch to play. But anyway, perfect place.
Some marketing.
Yeah. Perfect place for anyone who hasn't played it. Definitely get it on the Switch. Take it with you on the go. Play a little bit here and there. One thing I will note about it though is I've been playing with a PS5 controller. And the controls have been a bit wonky because, they're still set for an Xbox controller, which most games are supported by Steam and PlayStation, but it's still formatted as an Xbox. So it's not really recognizing my PlayStation 5 controller. So the buttons are all backwards and janky. I've gotten used to it now, so it's not too big of an issue. But yeah, it's a little weird. I want to hit X to jump, and I'm hitting square to jump. And I'm hitting X to attack. It hasn't been crazy. Other little things have been weird too. But I've been having to... the game will tell me, hey, hit this button to do this. And I'll have to figure out which button it's talking about. For instance, right trigger. It'll say, hit right trigger to do this. And I'm like, easy enough. Every controller has a right trigger. And I hit the right trigger and it does something else. And I'm like, okay. And then I fiddle with the controller. Finally figure it out. And what it is, my right trigger on my PS5 is pushing the right thumbstick to the right. That's the right trigger. So... been a bit weird, but we've gotten through it. It hasn't been too terrible. It's been better playing with that controller than it was playing with the mouse and keyboard. Just didn't feel right.
That sounds literally unplayable.
No, it's not. It's not. I promise. It's not bad.
Good luck.
It's not bad.
It sounds like that game can't handle the power of the dual. That's what it sounds like.
It's not alone. I mean, Xbox is probably right there with them. So.
And I will also agree with you, David. Mouse and keyboard just doesn't feel right with that game.
Yeah, those games. Yeah,
I've played both, and it just doesn't it's just something's off about it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Agreed.
That's because it's a real game.
True.
Okay.
True.
Okay. Mouse and keyboard. I mean, first-person shooters, mouse and keyboard. RTS, mouse and keyboard. MMO, mouse and keyboard. Other than that, you need a controller, man. You need a controller.
I can't disagree.
Just condense the controls down. That's all it is.
Okay, well, talking about real games, In the first episode of the Throne Room, it was mentioned that GoldenEye for the N64 was a classic game. And we even made a fun little catchphrase about it in the second episode. It went a little something like, you don't need a GoldenEye to see that it's a classic. Which got me to thinking that some of us here need to go back to school. So in this episode, we're going to do a little learning about what it takes to make a game a bona fide classic. What do you think?
I like it. Let's do it.
All right, well, so I will say, in all seriousness, though, I did do a lot of thinking about GoldenEye since we've spoke about it. And yes, I guess it would definitely be a classic, okay? It is a game that really did start the genre for the couch co-op shooter. You know, it really did start. It did. It was the beginning of it. Perfect Dark, Halo, all these other great games came after it. So I will eat my crow on that one, guys. GoldenEye 64.
We graciously accept your apology.
Okay.
And we're glad that you are now with the rest of the gaming world and acknowledging GoldenEye's place in gaming history.
Okay. Well, so in my opinion, a classic game is something that maybe broke boundaries and did something new. It's a game that most everyone probably has played, and is also a game that can remain untouched and still be just as good as it was the day that you first played it. That's, to me, what the core of a classic is. What do you guys think?
So, hitting off that last note that you had, that was my first point, is the replayability / timelessness of the game. No matter when you go back to the game, if, like, with GoldenEye, for example, if I go back to GoldenEye right now and I'm playing it, I'm not going to feel like I'm really missing out on other games because I always have a great time playing that game, even today.
GoldenEye?
Yeah. GoldenEye? That's surprising. But
yeah.
Let's
I mean,
continue.
I feel like that game's timeless because, like, when you go back, you, like, there's just a huge...
I just didn't know anyone still owned an N64.
No, like, it's just my neighbors, and whenever we play...
Melee players do.
Yeah, that's true.
Definitely do.
Yes.
And
that's a classic.
Still own one.
And CRTV. They bring them out. They put the CRTV there. They're like, this is the only way. If you attempt to play it on a flat screen, you are a Philistine. You do not know what you're talking about. You now be out of the community.
You shall be chastised.
Those are some serious stipulations, man. Oh.
Well, it's a serious.
And is this
club?
Is this a
serious group?
Is this original N64 Smash Brothers, or are we talking Melee? Because I thought still...
Melee.
Okay, Melee, yeah. Got the cube out and everything.
Melee is the cube. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
But you need the CRT. You need the CRT.
Yeah. Oh, wow, yeah. You can't upgrade for that, you know. Some things got to stay the same. Now, there are a lot of kids out there speculating that Fortnite could very well be considered a classic right now, and I tell you, I'm going to need a GoldenEye to see that, but what do you guys think?
So, I mean, I guess it depends. See, I think there's multiple paths to classic hood, if you will. I think that there are some games that are classics that you can't really go back and play with the same and not feel like it's dated. I feel like most N64 games are like that.
Yeah.
Because of the control scheme, the single
I offer the counter argument of Super Mario.
Analog stick. Super Mario 64?
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I was just thinking about that, man.
That would be my counter argument.
So I was just thinking about picking up the new Galaxy.
I was going to use that for my argument. Because you go back, you can play Super Mario World on the SNES and be fine.
Classic.
I agree.
But if you play Super Mario 64,
I don't know that I could, man.
You're used to a decade of twin stick third person gaming, and you go back to the guy in the cloud with the camera controlling your camera. No.
I will say that there is still a huge speed run community based around that game till this day.
That's true.
That's why that would be my argument about it, because I mean there are still people who play that game religiously on the original console, the way it was meant to be played.
Well, I think what Anre is saying, bro, is that takes a very special kind of person, and those are very special kinds of people. You know, I was really recently thinking of picking up the 3D All-Stars, with the one that comes with the 64, Mario Sunshine, and Galaxy, right? I was thinking of picking that up. And I thought, and I was like, you know what? Now that I think about it, I mean, Mario 64... bar none, one of the best Mario games ever made. First 3D game, but definitely one of the best Mario games. Love that game. Have very, very fond memories of it. I don't think that I could go back and play it right now. I don't think that I'd want to without some updated graphics. You know? I've looked at some videos.
I bought it.
It's not even
I
the graphics.
still enjoy it. I will say
it's
that.
not even the graphics, man. It's the controls.
It's the controls and the cameras and everything else, yeah.
But we could get together on a weekend and we could play Super Mario Brothers 3. That's a classic. On you know, Nintendo, was that NES or SNES? I think it's NES. We could play Super Mario Brothers 3.
I think it was Super Nintendo, yeah.
And be good, because that game is a classic. You could just take turns playing that. The jumping is precise. It's the controls don't feel floaty or weird or outdated or stupid. The camera's 2D, so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about the guy in the sky with his fishing pole camera, whatever. You don't have to worry about any of that. You know, I actually, there are very few Nintendo 64 games I actually owned. I owned Mario 64 and I beat it. And I remember, you know, beating Bowser. I remember everything about that game. And it was good. It was great at the time. It's
the suicidal penguin, man, or, you know, wanting to throw the penguin off the ledge. Yeah. I can't tell you how many. You know, it's so funny. I saw a meme about that not too long ago, and you think you're the only one that wants to terrorize. Penguin. You think you're the only one in the world that wants to terrorize the little penguin, but then a meme comes out and you realize I'm not alone.
Everyone wanted to terrorize the little penguin.
Yeah. No. Yeah. He.
Man, what I loved about that game was
I didn't like him.
The painting system, man. The paintings were the levels. And you jump through the painting. Man, I thought that was very smart, very intuitive. And
you know what's interesting? And I was young, but you know what's interesting? There's only 2 times I've ever legitimately been even a little bit frightened in a video game. And one time was going towards the last painting, the Bowser painting, and his face like slowly gets closer and closer.
Yeah.
And a few times I just was like, nope, I'm going back here. I'm going back. Nope, I don't know what's going on over there, but I'm not having it.
I'm not ready for it. I think I got about 30 stars left back there to collect in random levels. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna come back.
I'm gonna go back over here where everything is normal.
You can have the princess, man. You just keep her. I don't want her anymore.
I don't know her.
That being said, okay, maybe not Fortnite, maybe Fortnite. What are some classics in your eyes?
Oof. All right. I mean, I have several games that I consider classics. Like good developers can really churn out classics often in the gaming space. We talked about Final Fantasy X. That's a classic. It's probably the third classic like I think Final Fantasy 6 and 7 before them were classics. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is an amazing game, a classic game. Obviously, there's Metal Gear Solid, you know, the one for PlayStation, a classic game. Got a lot of people into the genre, created a genre really when you think about it. Street Fighter Alpha 3 is a classic fighting game. Street Fighter 2, a classic fighting game. Mortal Kombat Trilogy, which is like Mortal Kombat 3 if Mortal Kombat 3 was better, is a classic fighting game. So there's a ton, really. Call of Duty Modern Warfare really started this trend. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare is what the game's technically called. And it really, Call of Duty was a thing before that, obviously, since it's the fourth Call of Duty games. There were more than 4. But ever since Modern Warfare, it has exploded into a gaming juggernaut And that game started it. That's clearly a classic, you know. And by that measure, I guess you could argue Fortnite's a classic. I never played Fortnite. I think I played it once back when it was a base building wave survival game.
Yeah. It was very strange to me what the game became, right? Because it was that here, build stuff, defend against waves of zombies. Yeah. And they still kept, from what I understand, they still kept that play mode, and then they just started moving. They made a battle royale with the system they already had, with everything they had. They just said, "Hey, let's do battle royale with
build stuff." It is. I tell you what, we all make fun of Fortnite and its ubiquitousness and how it's just everywhere. But you watch someone who's good at Fortnite, like you watch a ninja or one of those people. It doesn't even have to be that good. Just somebody who's good at Fortnite. They're everywhere. They're shooting, they're building while they're shooting, and they're moving around, and they're like building like a half wall so that they get cover for like 3 seconds, and then the wall's gone, but they know the wall's gone. They're already over there building another wall to fight somebody else. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. You can say a lot of things about Fortnite, but you can't say it takes no skill. You can't say that, especially if you want to actually win, because it's a battle royale game. I don't care how easy the game is. If it's a battle royale, it's going to be hard because there's only one winner.
Yeah,
only one team.
Yeah,
winner,
True. Definitely agree. Yeah.
So Zach, you've spent some time playing some Fortnite. What are your thoughts?
I can definitely see how it would be considered a classic. It is, as of right now, probably the biggest game in the world. I would venture to say. Player base wise, that game has reached pretty much everyone. You ask anyone what Fortnite is, and they will know. It has been everywhere. I don't know if it will be considered one of like the timeless classics of like
this
said, Mario
generation.
64, your Ocarina of Times, your Tetris, your Dr. Mario's. This is the games that are just fundamentally good that people look back on fondly. Because there's a huge meme behind Fortnite as well. But I think in and of itself, it will definitely be considered a classic when we look back on it, just due to the sheer mass numbers that played the game.
Which is funny, right?
Ocarina of Time. That's another Zelda game, right?
Yes, Mr. Oblivious.
That Zelda lady has a lot of games. I tell you what, a lot of them are very good. Yeah,
it's centered around her.
It's centered around who?
It's centered around her.
Yeah. So,
it is her game.
Good job.
You're just the hero in it.
Princess Zelda.
Trying to save Zelda. You would know maybe if you played any of them. There's a lot of them. Pick one. Just play one. Just pick. Find one, and it's probably you can probably walk down the street, and there's so many. There'd probably be one just laying on the ground, and it's been modded to work on a PSP, and then there you go. Now you can play a Zelda game. Just find one, play one.
I think you meant the PS Vita there, David.
Either way, PSP, Vita, whatever.
Yeah, either way, yeah. The Vita could probably play, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, whatever.
They're going to need to do some ports after the stores close, right? You're going to need to turn that thing into a bona fide emulator, and sure, you can play any Nintendo game in the world you want at that point.
I agree with you, Zach, about Fortnite. I think here's the thing. If people stop playing it, I don't think it'll be a classic, but it just seems like people aren't going to stop playing it. Like a certain subset of people.
Agreed.
Yeah. Like once people stop playing it, then they'll raise children, and then their children will play it.
I don't see it happening anytime soon. That game going away.
Yeah.
It's
we can hope.
Battle Royale that Apex still has somewhat of a following.
So I was going to say, that you said it would be considered a classic, which I think is funny because this isn't even the first game to start this genre. What do you think about that? Most games that are called a classic are games that started the genre, right? This is not the first battle royale. There have been many before it. Why did this one reach number 1 out of 200?
I think it came from the memeage, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
Like how I was talking about how there's like a huge meme surrounding the game. And plus the fact like it looks like a children's game. Art style wise, so parents aren't going to be fully aware that it's all slaughtering other people. You kind of just mask
cleverly camouflaged
as a child's game, and they're like, "Oh no, this is a game for kids." My kid's perfectly fine playing this because I mean, that was the slash still is the majority of the player base anyway.
Yeah, it's true. I
So,
mean, we were watching a movie the other day. We were watching a movie.
You're eliminating enemies, but slaughtering is I don't know if you're just like gutting people with
you're mercilessly
knives.
going at it. Yeah.
But David, I think that there's two ways to for the genre thing. I think that there's the game that started the genre, or one of the first, and there's also the game that kind of blew it up. That like really kind of embodied it early on. And we all know Fortnite isn't the first battle royale game, but it was the game that kind of started the huge trend that kind of blew up quickly.
Yeah.
To the point where the games that actually did come before it and started are trying to copy Fortnite. It's like they're trying to figure out, well, what did they do? And what makes them so special?
And I mean, to build on top of that, it was the first big free battle royale. So you're gonna have a larger player base whenever you can market it as free, versus
that means anyone could play it
exactly
for no reason whatsoever.
That's another reason why Fortnite really blew up when it did, because they offered it for free.
Yeah, it's a free indie game. It's a small game that's free. You could tell your friends, hey, we're gonna play Fortnite tonight. You coming? They're like, no, I don't have Fortnite. Don't worry, it's free. Well, I don't. Yeah, just download it. It'll take like 15 minutes.
And I mean, on top of that, even look at all the other developers who built upon that model, like Apex, Spellbreak, Rogue Company. Everyone just kind of built on the fact of, if we make our game free, we're going to be able to reach a larger audience because of what Fortnite did. So in a way, they did.
Well, not even necessarily that, Zach. But if they don't come out free, then why would anyone play it when there's Fortnite, right?
Exactly. So you keep your player base.
And going back to real quick what you were saying about kids, Christy and I watched a movie last night, and there's been multiple movies we've seen. It just reminded me of it. But every time nowadays I'm seeing a movie and a video game is mentioned in it, it's motherfucking Fortnite.
It's Fortnite.
In every movie.
It's everywhere.
It's ridiculous.
It's the meme that surrounds it. It's everywhere. I mean, talk show hosts talking about it, playing the game. I don't know why that was ever even a thing, but that happened.
It's very accessible. It's like Rocket League, except it's on everything, and
it's on mobile too.
So colorful and vibrant, and
really
it don't have to be that good at video games. There's a lot, some of the reasons why it's successful are kind of a lot the same thing. A lot of the same reasons, rather, that Rocket League is successful. It's very accessible. It's very simple to understand, but you can be good at it. You can be a serious gamer and play Fortnite.
But I'll tell you one thing too, though. Rocket League probably does have, I'm pretty sure, higher requirements for a system to play on than Fortnite does.
Yes.
So that's another thing too. It's easily accessible. You can play it on a phone. You can play it anywhere. You play it on an old dinosaur laptop.
Yeah, I've watched people win games on phones. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, I've seen them actually do well on a phone.
Yeah,
I mean, if you really look at it, there isn't much of a skill requirement to play the game either. Like to a certain degree, Rocket League has a skill curve that you have to get over to be actually halfway decent at the game.
Yep. On
the surface, it looks pretty easy, and if you watch pros and people play it, it looks pretty easy. But there is a slight learning curve to be able to time. There's timing. It's a more intricate game than it looks on the surface. With Fortnite,
Rocket League, very much. There's a lot of crazy stuff that I wouldn't even begin to learn to know how to do. Yeah, congratulations to these people that figured it out. I won't. That's just, and I've tried. Man, I put hours into Rocket League. You both know that. I love Rocket League, but some of this crazy flying stuff they be doing.
Can't learn it, no matter how much time you put in, it's just innate.
Yep.
But with Fortnite, I mean, it's just point and shoot, basically, is all it is. So I mean, that
point,
also
shoot, build.
just the accessibility of the controls and the mechanics of the game also made it super accessible to everyone to play.
I do think that there is a level of Fortnite. I do think there are levels, and I do think there's a
definitely
like
would
if
agree that
you're
there are levels, but
yeah,
just to play the game, I feel like it's pretty easy to just hop in and be like, okay,
yes, on a base level, it's easy to just hop in, just kind of just like
you're saying,
Rocket League. It's easy to just drive. Hey, hit the ball. You know, soccer, that game nobody likes. It's the same thing, but with cars. You don't even have to learn it.
They sold me already. Yeah.
Of course, Fortnite is just like, hey, if you see somebody that's not you, kill them. If he kills you before you kill him, you've lost.
That's it.
So both simple, to at entry level, very simple.
I definitely agree.
So, any other games you think that are classy, your favorite classics, Zach?
I have some newer ones that I kind of build upon, if that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to move into that next. So, if you guys are ready to start talking about that, I wanted to know what newer games.
I was just going to say, to put a bow on the old classics. I mean, you could talk. We talked about Super Mario Brothers. We talked about Super Mario World. We talked about
Zelda,
Mario Kart 64.
Cool, yeah, true.
Yeah, the guy in the green jumpsuit or whatever. Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I mean, just games that kind of are amazing and are timeless and change the industry. I think a lot of times when you're talking about a classic, it changes the industry a little bit, at least. All of these games, whether you can go back and play it like Super Mario World, or it's kind of difficult to go back and play it like GoldenEye, they all change the industry at some point. It doesn't have to be a massive change. It could just change their genre. But
it can be just an inspiration for other people to make similar games. Yeah.
Like Madden, the first Madden game is an iconic game because it almost single-handedly created the modern sports game, which is now multi-billion-dollar industry or genre. I mean, there are too many to name, and if you have 3 hours, I can name a lot of them. I actually think that gaming gives us more classics than we realize, even compared to other mediums like movies and TV shows.
True.
I think that does happen.
Awesome. Anything else to add before we move on, Zach?
Like I said, just some Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Tetris, and Dr. Mario were like the classics.
We didn't even fucking mention Tetris.
I got it.
That tells you how many classics there are in gaming. We went through this whole, diatribe, and we didn't even mention Tetris, one of the highest selling games of all time, if not the most selling game. I think it's the most selling game of all time.
Tetris and Pong, dude. They changed the industry.
Yeah.
They introduced them to
go back to Pong, bro.
Yeah.
Pac-Man. I mean, you could go back to those Atari games.
Yeah. I mean, Tetris is still alive today. I mean,
I never played a lot of Tetris, but Tetris Effect, that was an amazing experience. I think that could be considered a classic. I mean, because of the way that the music tied in with the playing of the pieces, every time you put a new piece down, it made a beat that just somehow went with the music. It was so it was really awe-inspiring how good that game was, and I didn't expect that much from a Tetris game, and it was a fantastic experience. Yeah,
which really goes to show,
they did a good job.
The reach Tetris really has. I feel like it's really kind of thrown under the mat a little bit. Like everybody kind of just seems to wash over it, but Tetris is, I don't know, man. There's something about it that just clicks. Every time I play it, I just get addicted, and I don't want to
because the pieces click.
Yeah, just riding them into place.
Yeah, there's something cathartic about putting pieces where they should go. If anything, it's like we talked about Rocket League and we talked about Fortnite and we talked about the ease of use and getting into it. Well, that's like the original simple game. You can just give that to somebody and say, hey, make a line.
That's
You know?
it.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
Fit the pieces.
That's all you have to do.
Yep.
And then some people
There's no
still can't do that, can they? You had one job and you couldn't make the line. But all right, I guess Tetris isn't for everyone.
It's always tough when you lose in Tetris. It happens to everyone, but it's always tough.
All right, well, I wanted to go ahead and talk about newer games that, if they aren't already considered to be a classic, what do you think is going to be definitely considered a classic in your eyes? And I'd like to start with a few that I've come up with. Number one on my list is Hades. It will be a classic, hell or high water. I'm putting my money where my mouth is there. It gave this.
If you have to personally make it a classic, if you have to lead the charge, you're gonna make it a classic. It's gonna be a classic.
I'll run the Reddit. I'll do what I have to do. I'm not gonna say I'd shoot the president or anything, but I will do what I have to do.
I have no idea how that would help.
But it gave the genre a way to tell a fantastic story that gave you just enough to stay hooked while just getting you quickly back into the action. And then, you'd go do another run and you'd come back and here's a little more story. Then the different weapons and the way they acted with the various boons that you got, and it allowed for a unique style of play. Each run changed it up. You didn't play it at all, did you, Anre? You did watch me play some.
No, I watched you play it. And I concur with everything you said about how it looks to play. And then playing similar games like that. It really does seem like it took a lot of things from the genre it's in, and even some things from other genres, and melded it into kind of a very nice cohesive game about killing your dad. Exercise simulator.
What do you think? Hades a classic, Zach?
I would definitely agree. Like, everything about that game just clicked with the story, the gameplay. I feel like it was definitely a genre-defining roguelike.
Yep.
And the progress of where roguelikes are going now. I mean, obviously, you have, like, Metroid. Like, in Castlevania, classic roguelikes. But I feel like this is kind of...
They call them Metroidvanias for a reason.
Exactly. And I feel like those two were the charge for roguelikes up until now. And I feel like Hades kind of took it in a whole new direction and kind of changed the way that it's going to play out from now on.
Yeah, definitely.
Make it a classic. Make it a classic.
Also got a note on the heat system at the end of the game. It really made it a game that was fun even after 200 runs with the heat system, because it didn't just make the game harder. It wasn't just a new difficulty setting, right? It added new mechanics that inherently made the game more difficult, but also more fun to play each time. So really, yeah, I'm still not done playing it. Still a lot more to go. A lot more dads to be patricided on Hades. Also, next up, I got Cuphead. Now, while I didn't finish the game, I didn't beat it. I really appreciate what the studio did with a timeless art style and mechanics that are easy to learn but hard to master. What do you think of Cuphead?
I want to start that out by saying that is one hell of a game, difficulty-wise, art-wise.
That's probably why I haven't finished it yet.
It's oh man, dude, that game will chew you up and spit you out if you're not careful. I've beat it a couple times.
Even if you are careful.
But it is rough. It is a rough experience to try and get to that one. But I can see it being a classic. I didn't really consider it a classic whenever I sat down to think about this list. But I can definitely see why it would be. Just because it kind of brought back, in my opinion, kind of like a genre that isn't as popular as it might have once been.
Arcadey?
Difficult task.
Arcade game?
2D side scrollers,
Mm.
yeah.
What about you, Anre? What do you think?
The thing I think that separates Cuphead, obviously we've seen games in the past that are like, arcade side scrollers that are super difficult. This is basically like, it's a side scroller shooter, which we're big in back in the day. The aesthetic and the art style are so well done. I think everything's like hand drawn. I mean, just I think everything. First of all, we don't have many games, based in that 1930s cartoon style.
True.
There's one I can think of, Cuphead. So, and I think that like it gives it a charm that is kid friendly while also being different from the normal kid friendly. Like it doesn't look like Fortnite. It doesn't look like a Nintendo game where it doesn't look like that kind of cutesy friendly. It looks like old school, cutesy friendly, kill you, stab you, murder you type game. It's a very unique game, and I do like it. It almost tricks its user base into playing a side-scrolling shooter, like a reso gun, but harder, like those games back in the past.
Yeah, it reminded me of those old arcade games, like you're planes and you go up and down, you're flying up and down and shooting across the way, or even like R-Type, if anyone's played an R-Type game. It's very similar, but there's also the platforming mechanic embedded in it, where you have to jump on platforms and that are moving and doing crazy things. So it's a little more complicated than just flying and dodging bullets and shooting, right? So that's really, I think,
game on PlayStation. There was a game on PlayStation called Einhander. It's either Einhander or Ehrgeist, which are two games. I get their names confused for obvious reasons.
I don't think it's Ehrgeist. I played Ehrgeist.
One's a 3D fighter. Is that Ehrgeist?
I believe so.
Okay. Then it's Einhander. It's a side-scrolling. You're a spaceship. You're in space. You're shooting people. And that's kind of like what this is, except it's a 2D platformer mixed with that. It's very unique.
Yep.
The platforming is difficult. It's a very, it's basically a melding of two different genres, the 2D platforming and the 2D side-scrolling shooter, with a 1930s cartoon aesthetic. And it's made like harder than a lot of those games back in the day, which as we all know, were designed to be very difficult. So I do think it's kind of a modern classic, So I agree with you.
Okay, so that one is a classic. All right, 2 down. Next, I put on all Dark Souls games and Bloodborne. All of them. Every single one of them.
I have Bloodborne on my list. So.
Okay, Bloodborne's on your list?
I would immediately agree with you on that one.
Okay. Why do you guys think these deserve to be a classic?
I'm not sure they all do.
Okay.
I'm not sure Dark Souls 3 deserves to be a classic. But,
I think Dark Souls 2
3 is amazing.
Disappear.
Really?
Disappear. I hate 2. 2 is garbage.
Yeah. Okay.
I hate that game. I will avidly stand my ground on this one.
Okay, so now I haven't played 2, so maybe that one needs to go.
You're doing yourself a service.
Okay.
You're not missing anything.
Okay, but I think now I really need to try it, though, to see if it's really that bad. Oh, you're telling me.
It's going to be miserable.
Okay. But that's Dark Souls. Dark Souls is misery, right?
In a weird way.
Yeah, so what do you mean this one's going to make me miserable? They all make me miserable.
Like, for some reason,
in a way
the
that's not
gameplay on that one just doesn't work. Like, it's clunky. I don't know how to explain it. You might want to check it out for yourself, and we can have this discussion.
Okay.
You know what? We can make that an observatory game, so you can play it.
Sounds great.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
But it's bad.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I don't recommend it.
Bloodborne, though, definitely. Bloodborne was my first entry into the series. And for me, it will always be a classic because of that. It got me to play the other Souls games. It got them on my radar. It got me to be excited for Sekiro when that came out. So definitely Bloodborne for me, a definite classic. Okay, 2016's Doom. Now, I got to tell you why I think this one is a definite classic, because there were other Doom games before it, after the original PC games. And those original Dooms are classics. But then these, with Doom 1, Doom 2, Doom 3, there were these horror-style shooters with a story embedded in them. They weren't very good. 2016's Doom was a return to the classic arcadey shoot 'em up style that the originals were, and it was as good. It just made it better. It was the original formula made right for the time, and I thought that's what a Doom game always needed to be. So for me, 2016's Doom is assuredly a classic. What do you guys think?
I can agree with that. I think that Doom almost kind of brought back. There's a first-person shooter is a large genre with a lot of different subgenres. I think that there's a lot of looter shooters. There's a lot of first-person shooters with a huge emphasis on story. There's the military shooters with huge set pieces and everything. And Doom just kind of they were dormant for a while. Like you said, they put out some crappy games, and then they were like, what if we came out? We just said, you know what? All action, all frenetic, all the time. You wake up, you shoot demons, and you rinse and you repeat. Well, you don't keep waking up. Really, all you do is shoot demons. That's really all you do. And you go from that demon to that one to that one, and it's super fast paced. And I love the gameplay. I love the frenetic nature of it. And I think I agree. I agree. Doom 2016 is like when people picture what they played back in the day of Doom, it's Doom 2016. Yep. It's not because you were fighting damn near paper fucking demons with your slow ass guns, but that's not what you remember. You remember Doom 2016.
Yeah, that's a good way to put
Doom
it.
2016 took your nostalgia and it rewarded you for having it.
Yeah.
It didn't just say, all right, well, you're dumb. That's not how it was. It said, no, yeah, that's how it was. And here's a new one. And it's better. Trust me. Don't go back there. You don't need to because you got Doom 2016. So yeah, I agree. I think that's a strong one. I think Doom 2016, Dark Souls 1. I think those are very strong.
Okay. What about you, Zach? Doom?
Plus, I mean, to build on top of that, it also introduces a whole new fan base to Doom.
True.
You've got
There's a lot of people that didn't play those originals. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, you've got the age group of people who grew up. They never really looked at Doom as a feasible game because of graphics, and no one wants to play a 20-year-old game at that point. So you're like, oh, they're making a re-release, kind of like Demon Souls with PlayStation. Kind of the same way. People didn't get to experience that when it was a thing in the times of when it was a classic. So now you get to re-experience these things through a new light and experience it in a better, I mean...
A newer light. A 2016 light.
A 2016 light, yeah.
A better light.
I got to touch on that too real quick. I just remembered after you were talking about a lot of people didn't get to play that. And then in 2016, they added the little secret rooms that were paying homage to the old style of artwork. Original. The secret rooms, I forgot about those. So, it is paving way for the, newer audiences to be able to see this game that didn't get to experience the originals. But then they're also still getting to experience the originals because of the secret rooms the developers have put in there. That's really cool. Yeah.
I mean, if you look, I mean, we've already got Doom Eternal. So, I mean, something was right.
Which I'd love to get back to if I had a PS5. But one of these days it might happen. I might just end up getting it on PC because I really want to play it. Shame. So, it's a crying shame. All right, so I got two more on my list. But the next one up here, Subnautica. What do you guys think of Subnautica?
Ooh, I am not well versed.
A modern classic? I saw you play it. I wouldn't consider it a modern classic, so I am interested.
Oh my goodness. It is. Yeah, it's a classic in my eyes, man. There's never been an exploration game that really, a survival exploration game that made me feel the way that Subnautica did. You're thrown into this ocean. You don't know what to do. It doesn't hold your hand, and you got to figure it out. Okay. You need fish. You got to eat. Okay, cool. Now, and then you eventually get to the point where you instead of having to purify water, typical mechanics there, instead of having to, get clean water yourself, you can make purifiers, and now you can wait a little while and you've got purified water. So you're building up these systems to your survival that make previous things that were once hard easier. But you really got to explore the depths, and with that, you're also creating things that help you go further and deeper that you wouldn't have been able to if you didn't search one area out. And then the story that goes along with it, just what's happened to this world and the art And the sense of fear, man, there's not been many games that really instill a sense of not just exploration, but also fear in me at the same time. As the waters get darker, they get colder. You know, you're worried about the deep. You're worried about what's the next thing that you don't know about that could kill you. And there isn't really weapons in the game. It wasn't meant to be a game where you killed these things. It was just meant to be a game where you... Now, there's defensive maneuvers and weapons that you can take to avoid these things, but you're not really meant to kill stuff. So really it is the bigger fish out there always trying to eat you. So you just got to find ways to survive. Yeah, I really think the experience that Subnautica gave me was unlike any other in the genre that it is. And I'm so upset, really, that I'll never be able to experience it again for the first time. There's not many games that made me feel that way, but that one, I'm really deeply sad.
That's high praise.
Yeah, that I'll never be able to have that experience afresh, anew again. And now they did come out with Subnautica 2. It's still in early access, I believe, below zero, so it's on a frozen continent. Once it comes out of early access, I'll definitely buy it and be sucked into that immediately. But still, same thing. I don't know that it'll invoke the same emotions completely as the first. I'm sure it'll invoke new ones. But yeah, so classic. Subnautica for me, definite classic. Highly recommend everyone checking that out.
Subnautica is still free on PlayStation right now.
It's totally worth it. Get it.
You know, scoop it up.
And lastly, we've spoken a bit about it. Rocket League. Easy. I think Rocket League is a definite classic. I don't know. I don't think we need to call it a classic until we don't see people playing it ever again. But I don't know if that time will ever come. The moment people are no longer able to play Rocket League, instant classic in my eyes. I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, hard to disagree with Rocket League as a modern classic. We talked about it a lot before about the ease of use. I mean, we talked about it so much with there's nothing really left to say, but it was a genius move on Sony's part to make that one of the early free games, and it just created this large player base. But the game still has to be good because Destruction All-Stars is free right now. So,
but what is Destruction All-Stars?
Just because the game is free doesn't mean that
free. Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you know it's going to have a huge following. So I mean, I could have played Destruction All-Stars for free, and I never played it because it doesn't look interesting.
What is it like? Do they just blow each other's cars up? Is it kind of like Twisted Metal?
I have played it, and I enjoyed what I played of it. There's just not much replayability to it, which I feel like is also a factor in making a classic game.
So what? Can nobody hear me?
Twisted Metal.
Can nobody hear me?
Yeah.
What is it?
Okay. I can hear you. Yeah.
So
is it Twisted Metal?
No. I'm just kidding.
So it's a demolition derby game.
It's kind of like It's like Twisted Metal if Twisted Metal were super lame.
Okay.
And like it's like if Fortnite threw up on Twisted Metal and it added glitches and wasn't super fun. That's what it would be. Because it's like the art style is like, oh, there's Fortnite, let's do that. I don't like it. I don't like the art style. I don't like it doesn't look fun. And then when it came out, I was like, well, let's see what other people thought. And other people don't like it. And I'm like, well, is there a lot of people that want to play this? There aren't. So I'm just like, well, it seems like, what's amazing is they were going to charge $70 for this game.
Yeah.
That's amazing. They got saved from embarrassment, by Sony, in my opinion. But yeah, Rocket League, on the other hand, just super smart job by Sony to get that in, and that creates an established player base when you have a game that's good, and everybody checks out those games when they hear like, all right, well, this game's free. My friend David said, hey, we'll play some Rocket League tonight. I'll check it out. You check it out, you have fun, and all of a sudden you're a Rocket League fan. You're playing the game every night.
Yep.
That's how it happens. It's not that difficult, but yeah, that's they've blown up since then, and I do think that is a modern classic. So yeah,
Perfect.
It was one of the games I singled out, and I think that's a good pick for reasons we talked about in almost every segment now.
To go off of that, I feel like anything with, maybe not everything, but most things with a dedicated professional league kind of makes its way into classics because, I mean, you've got a large audience like League of Legends, Dota 2, and Overwatch. You've got those dedicated fan bases outside of just actually playing the video game. Because Rocket League has a professional league too. So it's like you're getting more attention just rather than just playing the game. You've also got people interacting with it in a whole different perspective.
Yeah, it's an e-sport. It really is. Yeah. It's a legit e-sport.
So I feel like that also adds to something being a classic as well. Because, I mean, like I said, you've got multiple ways of interacting with a game. So it doesn't really will always be there.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of build that fan base.
Definitely.
And more strong than it was before. So
Anre, what are your classics, man? What do you got?
Oh boy! All right, so a few of them. All right, well, I'll save the best for last. But first, we'll talk about a fighting game that is very accessible, based on an IP that is synonymous with nerd culture and anime culture. We're talking about Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Man.
If you're one of those people, you can call it Dragon Ball Fighters, but we're going to call it FighterZ. That is an instant classic because it is the best fighting games should be easy to learn and difficult to master, and that's what Dragon Ball FighterZ is. DBFZ is very, very simple to just. They have auto combos. It's an anime game, so it's an anime game based off an anime that you've likely seen. And so it is very the barrier to entry is not very difficult at all. And you're already invested in the property because you probably have watched Dragon Ball Z when you were a kid.
Yep.
And now Super came out, and a lot of people started watching Super. Not as good as Z, but better than the abomination that was GT. So it's somewhere in that area. But yeah, so you can master it. There are a lot of levels to being good at DBFZ. But you can always have fun. The art style, the aesthetics, the fact that it's a 2D fighter. A lot of these anime games are 3D fighters, and while a lot of them are good, like the Naruto series, some of them are forgettable. But the fact that they made it a 2D game really kind of made it more competitive, in my opinion. Because, you do have frame data you have to learn, and you have all these counters, and, you have the high, middle, low system that, is in most fighting games from Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat to Soul Calibur and all that. So if you're a fighting game fan and people who are DBFZ fans or Dragon Ball fans rather, then you can play DBFZ and the it's such a flashy game that, I mean, when you start playing it, you could just be, like I said, auto combo, square, 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 triangle, triangle, triangle. And it ends with a super flashy super. And the graphics are beautiful. The animations are gorgeous. The movesets are, you can tell, lovingly created because their moves, a lot of the signature moves are moves that the player or the characters did in the anime or in a movie somewhere. It's a beautiful game, and it's well made, and you can tell they care. A lot of anime fighters. It's just like, well, let's make a quick buck. Hey, this anime is popular, so this anime game will be popular. But this is a legit fighting game, and like Zach was saying earlier, it has a fighting game community. It has a people fight in tournaments on it. It's in huge, large tournaments, and I think it's at Evo. I'm pretty sure. It's a huge deal when a new character comes out.
Yeah.
People dissect it. In the vein of instant classic, it is an instant classic. It came out and almost immediately it is put up with all of these Street Fighters and the Street Fighter 5, Soul Calibur 6, all these other games that have been going on for a long time. This is a new series. This isn't Budokai or Tenkaichi or anything like that. And yeah, I think that's a great. I think it's an instant classic. I really do.
I have to concur with you, Anre, and if nothing other than the simple reason that it is the one fighting game that you've got me to spend over hundreds of hours in and have fun with it every single time. Now, I used to play a lot of fighting games back in the day. Loved them. Still like playing fighting games. But Dragon Ball FighterZ is definitely one that Anre got me into, and I cannot have enough of a good time playing it every single time we sit down to play a few matches. And I might get my ass whooped by Anre every single time, but I'm trying. It's still so fun to play each time I lose that I'm just trying every time to get a little bit better to hopefully get closer to winning and winning more every time. It is very easy to play, very hard to master. Amazing game. What a wonderful choice, and I'm sad I didn't think about it. But yeah, I agree. Wholly concur with you on that one.
Yeah, thank you. I think God of War 2016 is an instant classic.
On my list.
It is a Metroidvania. It is open world. It is AAA budget. That Sony budget. Mm-hmm. It is AAA voice acting. It is AAA. Everything about the game is AAA. The story is simple. You can remember it, but it's also deep, complex, and good. A lot of times, stories try to be too deep, or they outsmart themselves. This is a simple story, basically about a father and son trying to fulfill the last wishes of their mother and wife that just passed away. And obviously there's some obstacles to that. This is a story of a father trying to learn how to become a father to a son coming to grips with who he is. It has a lot of different threads to it, but the story it's immaculate in my opinion, and one of the best parts about that game, which is incredible considering that the gameplay is amazing.
Yep.
It is never ever
a dull moment,
ever not fun to throw your Leviathan axe and recall it.
Oh yeah,
it never does not feel good. And sorry for the double negative, but it really always feels amazing to do that. It really does. And from that first moment, when you first use the Leviathan axe on these small middling enemies, you're like, this is amazing. And then you throw the axe, and it sticks to some enemy and he gets stuck to a tree, and then you start beating another enemy with your fist, and then you call the axe and you do the final blow.
It feels good.
That's the entire game.
Yep.
That type of amazing combat.
I like how good it felt, real quick, about losing your axe, using your fists. How good it felt to still fight without your weapon. Like, I don't know of any game that's ever done that before. So you love your axe, you throw your axe, and then you're like, I don't need it. I'll just punch him for a minute, and it still feels good. You're still doing damage. It's not like, I need to get my axe right away. No, you can wait on that.
Yeah.
You can wait till they're lined up enough, and then and then bring the axe back when it's gonna hit everybody. Like, yeah, man, fantastic.
because it's always, you always have it, even if you don't have it with you immediately. It's like, it really kind of makes you feel like, the MCU's Thor.
Yeah.
How he fights with the
Mjolnir.
Mjolnir, his hammer.
I heard talk about an Avengers game earlier, so
we cannot confirm.
Looking forward to that one. So
we cannot confirm the existence of an Avengers game.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, everything about the game screams instant classic. Screams this is a new high watermark for AAA games. And there are two things really on my list, two gameplay mechanics that never got old, and one of them was swinging and the Leviathan axe and recalling it and everything about the axe, and the other was swinging around New York as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because Spider-Man for the PS4 is an instant classic.
Yep.
Spider-Man is probably one of the top 3. First of all, he's the most iconic superhero of all time. Let's get that straight right now. He's the most. He's more popular than Spider-Man, Batman. He's the most iconic, and he's probably one of the top 2 or 3 superheroes that translates well to gaming. Because the thing that makes him awesome, you can do well in video games, but he's not so superpowered that it's hard to do. Like Superman, it's very hard to do a good Superman game. It's not impossible. Maybe somebody will do it, but we didn't see it last generation or the generation before. They made a perfect Spider-Man game. Spider-Man 2 was the high watermark for Spider-Man games before. One of the best superhero games ever. And that game was on freaking PS2, man. It's been so long. I think that, everything about that game, this is going to sound almost like a repeat of the God of War, but it's just, these are Sony first party games. The story, the gameplay, the graphics, and the performances are really good. There are a couple of sections, like the Mary Jane stealth sections, the Miles Morales stealth sections. I understand why they're there. I wouldn't remove them, but it is kind of a low in a non-stop action type of game. But I kind of like it because it makes you appreciate being Spider-Man.
Yeah,
it really does.
Yep.
Like when it's like, oh,
it's a good way to put it.
Oh, you're caught by Rhino, level over. But when you're Spider-Man, well, you don't have to do that. You can fight. You can actually move around quickly. It's good to show how powerful Spider-Man is by using people who are normal and who have to crawl around and walk around, and it takes 10 minutes to move from one room to the next. Meanwhile, you're Spider-Man. You're swinging from block to block, in a high-speed car chase,
Hey, speaking of, Zach, you all right, buddy? Do you need to swing to a glass of water real quick? You sound like you're dying over there, homie.
No, yeah, I'm good. It's my allergies.
Okay, man, they've been screwing me up over here too. Yeah,
they're kicking my ass right now, but we're pushing through it.
Spring cleaning, more like spring.
Oh man,
dying.
Yeah,
it's awful. But no, I'm good.
Well, I hope you feel better, man. It's terrible right now. What were you saying? Is that it for Spider-Man? I mean. I
just want to say that, like, I think the performance that the actor that plays Peter Parker did, I think it's fair to put him up there with some of the recent, like, Spider-Man's the live action ones.
Yeah,
and also
definitely
the cartoon Spider-Man. Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Like the one in Spider-Man the Animated Series, I thought that was a good performance, and Spectacular Spider-Man. I think he did a great job, and I think that, like, he should be up there when you're discussing great Peter Parkers. He did a great job of
definitely.
The story does a great job of telling you that, hey, everything isn't super swell for this guy. That is an important part of Spider-Man, knowing that, like, he has a lot of problems and his life isn't super awesome all the time just because he's Spider-Man. He has to deal with a lot of stuff as Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the fact that he's Spider-Man oftentimes hurts Peter Parker in a way that wouldn't happen if he wasn't Spider-Man.
Yep.
And that's an important part of any Spider-Man story, and he does a good job. You cannot just be Spider-Man, but he, you know, you have to play both Spider-Man and
you have
Peter
to be
Parker,
greater,
and they have to be different. And you know, Spider-Man with his quips and his jokes, those were on point. They really were. They were the perfect amount of like legitimately funny and like dad joke corny type thing that he's got going on. And then there's the earnestness of Peter Parker and how he just he's just a good person, wants to make everybody, you know, everybody's lives better.
Yeah, man. You know, with great power comes great responsibility, man. Yep.
Yes,
He definitely shows us that. Anything else on your list? Is that the best for last that you were talking about?
No.
Oh,
there's one game. Yeah, there's one game that is going to go down as an instant classic, regardless.
Okay.
And that is The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh yeah. Yep.
The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the most divisive, controversial video games of all time. You could write papers about parts of The Last of Us and not talk about other parts. You could discuss the pre-launch of The Last of Us Part 2 and not even focus on the post-launch. You could talk about the story structure and not even talk about the huge twist. You could talk about the huge twist and not even talk about the story structure.
True.
All of these things were bold. They were difficult to do for Naughty Dog. And really, not only could most studios not even think of to do stuff like that, they wouldn't have the cachet to do stuff like that. The fact that they are the number one publisher or the number one developer for the number one publisher, the market leader, Sony, really allowed Naughty Dog to take a lot of chances with The Last of Us Part 2. And I think pouring all that money in, all that resources, all those man hours, and coming out with a near perfect game that can still be criticized, that can still be dissected, it's going to be an incredible flashpoint, I think, in the video games last generation. I really think even just discussing like not only like spoiler culture, but like why people felt the need to spoil it, or why people felt the need to review bomb it on sites like Metacritic give it a 0 and all that. There's so many battles about this game before it even came out, from people, you know, you're this, you're that, people just calling each other names, calling each other misogynist or you know, calling people social justice warriors, all this other crap that has nothing to do with the game. You know what I mean? Calling people homophobic. It's crazy because this one little game, you know, that created the shitstorm that I don't think no other game in history has, and I don't think any other game will for quite some time.
Yeah.
I mean, the only game I can even think of is like Mortal Kombat basically creating the ESRB, and Night Trap too. But like, you know, but and there's obviously like Grand Theft Auto going on, you know, people literally trying to like stop the sale of violent video games and all that. But like, when you just like limit it to the industry, The Last of Us is one of the most controversial games ever put out, and it's crazy how people that have such strong opinions, generally they either love it or they hate it.
Yeah.
But there's so many things to love, and there's so many things that people don't like, and it's not just this one character. This one thing happened to this one character. Sometimes it's the way they told the story that people don't like, or the way they told the story that people do like. It's all that, and it's wrapped up in the game with the best animations, the best graphics, the best gameplay, of the generation, really.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it is.
I mean, yeah, we've talked a lot about Last of Us.
Classic.
We've talked a lot about Last of Us Part 2 on the show already, and we will continue to talk more about it, but it is definitely one of my favorite games of all time. It's on that list. Definite classic.
Yeah. It's an instant classic.
What about you, Zach? What do you think of Last of Us 2?
I'll kind of run through this real quick. But with The Last of Us Part 2, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong.
No.
And
I like where this is going.
I can definitely see how it could be considered a classic. But for me, I mean, also, it boils down to, I feel like we all have different classics in our own mind, also the way that we experience video games.
True.
I feel like that's kind of just how everything is in life. You have things that you remember more than other people. But with The Last of Us Part 2, I don't think it hit as hard for me as it did for a lot of other people, especially you guys. I don't think it hit as hard. I think the first one was more iconic and more set in the classic sphere for me than the second one was, if I'm going to be honest with it. Because it created this whole new narrative and this whole new world of just pain and suffering in a new way we hadn't really seen in video games before, which was carried over into The Last of Us Part 2, but not to the degree that I was hoping / expecting for in a sequel to the first one.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, I can get that.
It's because you're heartless, Zach. I understand.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just garbage, David. You know this.
All right, Zach, what about you? What's your list, man? What do you think are the new NU classics?
All right, so I have, it's almost split evenly down the field, Switch games and other Sphere games, because I'm a huge Nintendo fan. Starting off, I've got Mario Odyssey, in a way that we haven't seen a Mario game. Oh, we've seen Mario in 3D in a lot of different environments and done pretty well, but I feel like this one is going to open up a whole new branch of Mario, like with Bowser's Fury that just came out. It's created a whole new narrative for Mario games moving forward, and I think it's going to be very well remembered in being a classic as we move forward in the video game industry.
Yeah, man, I thought Odyssey was fantastic. To me, it was the next best Mario game since 64. It was very reminiscent to me of Mario 64. Now, of course, did I love Sunshine? Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like this, this game was like Mario 64 level for me.
It was completely new, and it added all the elements that you love from all the other ones into one big package. And everything about it was just so well done. Like, there wasn't anything where I was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I could not put that game down when it came out. I just rushed through it as fast as I possibly could because I wanted more.
Yeah, and speaking of one of the favorite parts from 64, the paintings, they brought that back in Odyssey as well. Not in the same
vein.
But you could still go through paintings, so that was a nice little pang of homage in my eyes, and I was very happy to see that. So.
Yeah. No, and then you've got New Donk City where you've got the 2D levels mixed in with the 3D world. Like, everything about that game was awesome.
Yep.
And it will definitely be remembered as a classic for sure.
Agreed.
No argument here.
Next up,
definitely an instant classic.
Next up, Anre's gonna love this one. Breath of the Wild.
He doesn't even know what that means, man.
No, exactly. That little Anre, it's that little dude in the green tunic. Yeah.
Oh.
That one. But I mean, you've already got emulations of this game all over the place, and so many comparisons to this game. Everything's Breath of the Wild-esque, and I mean, it just kind of changed the whole narrative of The Legend of Zelda in general.
Yeah, I guess narrative because the story is. No, I wouldn't say narrative. The story is pretty much still kill Ganon, save Princess.
Yeah.
But so narratively, it's still similar. But yeah, it did change the whole idea of what a Zelda game is because now it's not just swing your sword, go solve the puzzles, get a new item to get you to a new area, etc. Now it's a survival game. You have to get your own food. You have to cook food. You have to watch your stamina bar.
Your weapons.
You have to do. You can't repair them, but once they break, you got to equip a new one. It's a whole.
You can't repair them?
Nope.
You cannot repair them. No, you have to.
What about the Master Sword?
You get so many. So the Master Sword, it quote unquote breaks like your other weapons after a certain number of uses, but after a certain amount of time, it just comes back. So it doesn't break. You just have to give it. You get a cooldown period before you can use it again. Where it doesn't really honestly matter because the Master Sword. The Master Sword is a pretty weak weapon. It only does about 30 damage to any regular enemies. It isn't only when you start getting towards Calamity Ganon, the main enemy, afflicted enemies, where the Master Sword glows blue and does double the damage towards those enemies. So it's actually a pretty weak weapon unless you're fighting those types of enemies. Not only that, there's some other ones like Lionel's that have like 68 damage for a sword, which is already double +8 the Master Sword at max level 2 for fighting those types of enemies. So Master Sword, I liked it as my general kill little crap stuff so that I'm not wasting one of my good weapons, right? So that's what I pretty much use the Master Sword as. But anyway, getting beyond the point there, weapons they break. But you get so many of them. There's weapons everywhere, man. They're everywhere. You have to choose which weapons you want to keep.
And you can use a tree branch as a weapon.
Yeah, you can.
If you really want to.
I've seen that.
You use a broom. A broom was it?
Skeleton arm.
Skeleton. Yeah, you can chop them arms off and use them. They're not that good.
But it works in a pinch.
I do agree. From what I've seen of Breath of the Wild, I don't have a Switch, so I didn't play it. But from what I've seen of it, from what I have witnessed, I do think it is an instant classic, and people tend to like it. So,
yeah, agreed. I think it is one of the best Zelda games in the franchise, and unfortunately, I will tell you that I've spoken with people that are big Zelda fans that don't even want to try or play Breath of the Wild because they're intimidated by the differences in the systems. It's not the same type of game, and that's unfortunate because it is still Zelda, and because it does have these crafting systems or these food survival systems, they're not difficult. It doesn't make it any less Zelda. It's still Zelda, and it's one of the best ones.
It just builds on top of what was already there.
Yeah,
is all that game did, but did it in a way that is just super memorable.
Yeah, it's fantastic game. One of my favorites of all time for sure.
And it's a beautiful looking game. Credit where credit is due.
Yep.
It is gorgeous.
Looking forward to Breath of the Wild 2 for sure.
Next we've got Persona 5. Kind of one of the
one you haven't beaten yet
right now. Yeah. And it's already a classic, dude. I love this game.
Good.
It just emanates like style, I guess is my whole
That's a perfect word for it. If I had one word to describe Persona 5, it'd be style.
God, dude. And I can't put it down. Like I've been playing a lot of it here recently, and I've tried to beat this game 4 times, and I still keep coming back to it because I just love the game. Like there's nothing about the game that I don't enjoy. It's just I keep getting distracted because it's so long.
Yeah.
But it's well.
I mean, how many days of school do you got to get through?
A lot.
Yeah. It's a long year, yeah.
But I love it. So
I would have gone through all 4 years with that crew. All 4 years.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It's like high school if high school was awesome.
Was
true.
Dope and badass.
And the people were getting murdered and crazy things were happening. Yeah.
And you get to steal people's hearts. Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. You can change people's minds and not let them be sex addicts anymore. What was that with the coach?
I would have loved to have been able to change my teacher's perspective on me in high school. So that would have been awesome.
Instant A, easy A. Yeah. I'm with it.
Yeah. Right. Next up, I've got Witcher 3.
I was wondering why someone else didn't.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that game. I mean, it was glitchy at the start, and I mean, you still have some bugs, but
Did you hear that? Nothing wrong, Anre. Do you think there was at least something wrong with Witcher 3? The Witcher 3 Master? Come on.
Something wrong with The Witcher 3?
Yeah, is there at least one thing wrong with it? It can't be that perfect, can it?
I mean, other than Roach being a dumbass.
That's true. That is a big problem. I'm surprised you didn't think about it, Zach. That horse does not take you everywhere.
It is a perfect game.
Weakness, trees. Yeah.
It just emanates perfection of what a game should be and what games could be. And I think that's why I had to add it to my list as being a classic.
Perfect.
Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, another one, kind of redefined a whole genre of games and added a whole new element. And it's already spun like, 3 remakes? No, two remakes?
Well, I would say, I don't know about the genre. I would say it did redefine what Resident Evil is as a series.
Yeah, which is fair, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it does. It's fantastic. It was something that we were not expecting. You know, you've been playing Resident Evil how long, right? And you're this little third-person guy. You're scared about what's coming out this door, what's climbing around the ceiling on the other end of this corner. Very tight camera spaces. And now and now you're first-person camera. Everything's slower paced than the previous Resident Evils, and it's just a hell of a lot scarier. Period. Yeah, I loved what they did with Biohazard. The entire experience was phenomenal. Classic. I mean, maybe for some people that might. I don't know that I'd call it I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. But I do love the game, and I am looking forward to Village. And
that's like the whole thing is classics sound different for everybody.
True.
So like I haven't played Subnautica, so I can't really say.
Right.
But I haven't heard many people refer to it as a classic. But again, to you, that's one of those games where you're like, "Oh, dude, fucking, I love the whole experience."
Yep, exactly.
One thing that I remember everything about this game, and it means a lot to me.
Yep.
Elder Scrolls Skyrim, just because everyone loved that game. Again, I didn't play much of it.
A lot of people would say that's a classic. That's for sure, and I definitely is a classic. Yeah.
It didn't make the cut for
my list. Yeah.
It was released in 2011. That's the only reason.
Okay,
because I was only going for recent classics. Obviously, The Witcher 3 might be the game of the generation. It really was.
That's also fair.
So it Witcher 3 is obviously.
I thought you said Last of Us 2 was.
Classic. I said might be.
Okay, all right. As long as you put might be in front of everything, it's okay.
The existence of The Last of Us Part 2 is the reason why I said it might be.
Okay, all right. I'm listening now. I heard you at might be. Yes. I saw you at might be.
Yes.
All right. So in the same vein,
if only one of those games existed, then it'd be no contest.
Oh, assuredly. I mean, one minus
the other exists.
1 minus 2 is 1, right?
And I'll just throw out these last two just because of the fan base: Minecraft and Animal Crossing: New Horizons. Those are some other classics. Animal Crossing because it really helped the world in video games, and you got people into video games to get us through a very difficult time as a world through the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And I feel like an instant classic is because it brought everybody kind of together in this one world where we could all just live peacefully there was utter chaos outside.
We can all join together in the shared debt that we all owed this one small raccoon.
Rodent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, just so as a reminder, if everyone's enjoying the show, you can head over to patreon.com/crownkingmedia and start supporting us for just $1 a month, which gets you a Patreon exclusive show dubbed The Roundtable, where we pick a game to discuss in great detail while also providing our insight into what could make it much better or far worse. It is time to talk about some industry news. Sony's obsession with blockbusters is stirring unrest within PlayStation Empire. According to Bloomberg.com, A small team has had big ambitions for a Last of Us remake, but Sony handed the work over to star studio Naughty Dog. Sony Corp's Visual Arts Service Group has long been the unsung hero of many hit PlayStation video games. The San Diego-based operation helps finish off games designed at other Sony-owned studios with animation, art, or other content and development. But about 3 years ago, a handful of influential figures within the Visual Arts Service Group decided they wanted to have more creative control and lead game direction rather than being supporting actors on a popular titles such as Spider-Man and Uncharted. What do you think of this?
I definitely can see why there's unrest. I like the idea of blockbusters and then being like, yo, Microsoft, look at what we can do. But I also don't like the idea that they just tend to disregard the smaller studios in an effort to support these bigger studios and these bigger projects. Because after reading that article and about how the Last of Us remake they had this whole other plan for it, but then they just gave it back to Naughty Dog because they made the first one. It's a little sketchy to me after this whole group. I mean, if you put that much time into it, just for it to be taken away from you, then I mean you're gonna feel defeated. There's no point for you to stay with the company, which a lot of them apparently left, according to the article, which serves as distrust in the company, I guess, for other developers, because they're going to see, oh yeah, our projects aren't going to be green-lighted. They're just going to be handed over to the bigger companies. So we won't really get much of a
recognition,
a range of games, because it's all going to be like the same style and the same ideas. I don't know. I just wish there was more variety in their support to their other developers.
Yeah, so continuing on with Bloomberg, Sony's focus on exclusive blockbusters has come at the expense of niche teams and studios within the PlayStation organization, leading to high turnover and less choice for players. Last week, Sony reorganized a development office in Japan, resulting in mass departures of people who worked on well-known but acclaimed games such as Gravity Rush and Everybody's Golf. The company has informed developers that it no longer wants to produce smaller games that are only successful in Japan, Bloomberg has reported. Anre.
So it's important to note, first of all, Jason Schreier, big writer, games industry writer. He wrote this. He does a lot of deep reporting and then puts out large, reports, large articles. This isn't actually very long. Everybody should go to Bloomberg.com or just search like Bloomberg Sony, and read this article. It's not that long. It's a very good read. He does this a lot. He did it with Rockstar and their crunch, and CD Projekt Red and their crunch. He does a lot of investigative journalism. Very few people are willing to put their name on some of these reports, though. But I want to push back on almost everything. I really do, because there's a few things he basically is saying, right? If you just don't want to look at the article, basically what he's saying is Sony has this focus on AAA games, and because of that, it's taking away some of their smaller games. They're not enough for those are getting made, and more resources are being poured in to make more and more big blockbuster games. Part of me goes, well, yeah, no duh. And the other part of me goes, I don't really believe that's true, at least not to the degree he seems to want to make it seem. So firstly, we talked about, just in this episode, we talked about The Last of Us Part 2. We talked about, not Cyberpunk, we did, but Last of Us Part 2, we talked about God of War, we talked about Spider-Man. These are huge tentpole AAA games, along with Horizon, that cost a lot of money, take a lot of resources, make Sony a lot of money, and most importantly, sell systems. Because games on one system aren't going to sell as much as multi-platform games, but they are going to move systems. They are going to sell systems, and that's what Sony wants to do. There are a myriad of other games in other genres, small, big, AA, AAA, single A, indie, throughout the entire industry. And a lot of them you can play on PlayStation. But Sony, with their first-party exclusive games, is more and more focused on AAA games. And that's obvious, and the reason is obvious when they sell 10 million units a piece. Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2, Horizon. We just naming these again. These are huge tentpole games, and you do have other games you can play in the meantime. But I want to push back on this notion that Sony, all they want is The Last of Us. All they want is Uncharted. All they want are these huge games, because they took a small studio, Sony Ben, who really is famous for making Siphon Filter, and they said, hey, you can make a AAA game. You can make, and not a huge blockbuster too big to fail, which is a phrase that he says a lot in the Sonic game, but a new IP. New IPs are obviously risky because they're new. People don't know if they like them. And they made Days Gone. And this report says that they pitched Days Gone 2, and Sony said no, and they put them on something else. But I'm not 100% sure Days Gone 2 is not going to get made eventually, but that's neither here nor there. The article makes it seem like Days Gone 2 is dead. I do not believe that's the case. But anyway,
those days are gone.
They let them make Days Gone. They let Housemarque, who came up with, who makes twin stick shooters like Resogun, they let them make Returnal. Returnal, it's a AAA game, but it's not this huge, massive game. That's a new IP.
Yeah.
And Insomniac is making Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank is, again, it's not going to take, I don't know, $100 billion gajillion to make. The last, the last one, Ratchet and Clank, the remake, only cost $40. I'm pretty sure this one will be full price. It'll be a full game. But the notion that Sony just is really just only interested in the next Uncharted, the next Last of Us, I don't believe that to be the case. I think that, and at the same time, that's what people expect when they buy a PlayStation, okay? Because they can go to EA for smaller games and big games. They can go to Ubisoft.
Mm-hmm.
They can go to, all these other third-party developers, all these other indie players, all these other multi-platform games, and they can play them on the PS4 and the PS5. But the reason you have a PS4 and the PS5 is for the AAA blockbuster exclusive games.
Yeah.
And Sony's giving you that. And they're also giving you smaller games like Returnal, Ratchet. We got Astrobot. We got a remake of Demon's Souls. I mean, not all of these games take, 80 hours a week of crunch and $100 million to make. So I don't think things are as bleak as they appear to be if you read this article. I really don't.
I didn't think things were bleak at all. I feel fine about everything, about all the games I'm getting. I don't have any issues. So now, are these studios maybe concerned with anything that's going on? Is that a possible concern for some smaller studios?
So, I mean, it's possible. He details, a studio that basically wanted to make a game themselves. They didn't. There's a Sony studio that basically goes in and touches up games, helps games get finished, basically. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, instead of helping someone else, we want to be a lead developer on our game. So they're like, all right, well, we know if we pitch an original game, it's going to be hard to get that approved. And that's any publisher. Any publisher is going to, it's going to be difficult to get them
pitch
to
that and have them accept that and give you the money to do it.
New
right?
IPs are,
it's risky.
New IPs are risky. They're risky. So they're like, all right, well, instead we'll remake a game. And at first they were like, well, let's remake Uncharted. And then later they decided, well, it'd be better to remake The Last of Us. So that remake is still going on. But after Naughty Dog,
Last of Us needs a remake right now?
That's another question we could talk about.
Really?
Yeah,
who decided this?
Yeah.
Well, this team decided to make it, and then
they decided it wasn't a classic yet, and they needed to make it one, I guess.
So it's not really, so it's not really that difficult to remake a game that was released in 2013.
True.
If you base it off an engine, off of a game you just released,
yep.
like The Last of Us Part 2.
Yep.
I mean, there are people that enjoyed the story of The Last of Us better, and if you take The Last of Us story, and The Last of Us is a pretty linear game. It's much shorter than The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
And you have the new mechanics and the new graphics and the new motion matching system.
No, I agree. I'm sure it's for somebody. I just don't feel like that it's necessary. I don't feel like there's a need for it. But hey,
yeah, I mean,
something out there for everyone.
I just don't think it's as difficult to make. It's not a high risk. It will sell.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not going to cost that much to make.
Right.
And the hard development was done when Naughty Dog made Last of Us Part 2. They're just going to base it off that engine.
Yeah, true.
And yeah, Sony came by and they were like, well, hey, these guys are done making Last of Us Part 2, so why don't they help you out? And so they're like, well, we're back in the support role again, basically, because even though we're supposed to be the lead, they made this game. They made The Last of Us in 2013. So when there's a question or when there's something like that, their voice is obviously going to be a little bigger because they actually made the game. So, I mean, for that, I guess there's a small worry that particular team might be getting fed up. But it was their decision to pitch The Last of Us remake.
True.
That wasn't Sony's decision. So I think it's a little overblown. I think the talent always rises to the top, because another thing this article says, and I mentioned it, they say a lot, too big to fail. And what that basically means in the game space, we're not talking about companies here, but what that basically means in the game space is that, well, they put so much man hours into it and so much money that it has to be successful. And that to me does a disservice to the talent at some of these studios working for Sony, at Naughty Dog, Insomniac, Guerrilla Games, the one that made God of War, I'm blanking on.
Santa Monica Studio.
Santa Monica Studios, thank you. But yeah, because we've seen games that have a ton of money going into them, a ton of development time, crunch or otherwise, a ton of marketing, and they didn't work. The Avengers game that we referenced earlier, that has one of the most recognizable IP of the 21st century.
Hey man, I'll tell you, if anything is stirring unrest within the PlayStation empire, it's Square Enix's Avengers.
Yeah,
so
exactly. They're right on their heels.
All right, well, moving on, guys.
Look at Halo. That has all of Microsoft. Everybody knows Halo is synonymous with Microsoft.
Yeah.
And when's the last time they made a good Halo game? So you can't just throw money at it and expect, oh yeah, well of course it can't fail. It's
Hey, it got pushed back, man. The new Halo got pushed back, and it didn't even launch with the Xbox like they were everyone was expecting it to. So they pushed it back, right? So that goes to tell you can't just slap Halo on something and it's going to be a good game. It's not just the name. You have to make a good game. You have to make a good game. All right. Speaking of making delays, according to The Verge, PS5 exclusive Deathloop has been delayed again until September 14th. Apparently, the new game about time needs more time. Deathloop has been delayed again, with Arcane's timed PS5 console exclusive, moving from its previous May 21st release date to fall release on September 14th. This news marks the second big delay for Deathloop, which was originally supposed to be out in the 2020 holiday season alongside with the then newly released PS5. Man, a second delay. Just need a third one, and it's a loop, right? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, the first thing I just want to say is May 21st. You say May 21st to September 14th. That is almost 4 months. That is a large delay. That is a third of the year. That is a very large delay. So they, I think the nature of the game, the fact that it's so intriguing, the whole Bethesda thing, and the fact that this is a Bethesda game that is exclusive to Sony, despite the fact that Bethesda is now wholly owned and operated by Microsoft, that's interesting. But I think that the time loop part of this game and the systems it has at play, I think that's why it's taking so long. We're not getting into Cyberpunk territory quite yet because it's only the second delay, but we're getting perilously close. Since that's a 4 month delay. That's huge. That's not. Yeah. I mean, that's a damn near. That is more than a delay.
Yeah, I'll read the message here that the Deathloop Twitter put out from Arcane Studios. We've made the decision to delay the launch of Deathloop to September 14th, 2021. We're committed to quality and preserving our team's ambitions for Deathloop while ensuring the health and safety of everyone at Arcane. We'll be using this extra time to accomplish our goal, create a fun, stylish, and mind-bending player experience. We apologize for the extended wait and thank you all for your passion and excitement. It is the fuel that powers our creativity and hard work. We can't wait to show you more Deathloop soon. Game director Dinga Bakaba, art director Sebastian Milton, and the Arcane Lion team. What do you think?
Well, that was.
Are they sincere?
Tweet. It seems sincere. I mean, I think they wanted to put it out. I think. Yeah. Again, when it's 4 months, that's serious. They got some work to do. That's not. You can't solve that with crunch. You can't solve that with money. 4 months, they obviously need way more time.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and for whatever reason, that's fine. I don't mind that. Any game that needs a delay, for whatever reason, I am more than happy as a consumer to let them continue to have that, right? Now, what I think should be happening with this, though, is I'm tired. This is maybe it's just COVID. Maybe things will go back to normal, but I don't think so. I think it's creating habits that are just going to continue within the industry. So rather than continually making launch days and then delaying them, I think companies should stop, and then only when they're 100% sure that their game is going to come out, then really put like a 6 month window on it if they know that they're going to make it in that window, or even 1 month. Even, hey, in a month, you're getting Deathloop. You've heard all about it. You put your money down on it. We didn't tell you when you're getting it, but guess what? It's a month away. You're getting Deathloop. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's one way to go.
Or perhaps just start saying maybe instead of their launch date.
I definitely agree that I'm getting tired of seeing video game companies delaying games. You don't see this in any other form of media very often, or nearly as often as you do in the video game industry. And as a consumer, on the other end, I'm starting to get a little irritated. I mean, again, Deathloop, not something that I really cared about, so it's whatever. I'm not going to be that upset about it. But with like Cyberpunk, even though it needed the delay, I was getting tired of the 4 times it was pushed back. Yeah, we're promising it here. No, sorry, no, we're doing it here. Not here. No, we're doing it here. Like, I can't understand. Again, I definitely agree there needs to be a thing where you finish the game and you get it to where you need it to be, and then you announce the release date. Not, we're going to guesstimate here, and then we're just going to keep pushing it back until we finally have the appropriate time to release it. And again, I don't know all the reasons behind why Bethesda would delay the game. Personally, it might be that the game needs more development, or
it's not Bethesda, right? It's Arcane Studios. They're the one making the game, which is a subsidiary of Bethesda's. But who knows? There could be so many reasons why. But
just finish the game and then announce a release date. Stop giving us a release date and then deciding, oh wait, that's not good enough. We need more time.
So I think what you're proposing is a Hollywood type release date thing, where if you take COVID aside, because obviously we've seen movies get delayed because of COVID.
Exactly.
But before COVID,
Correct.
movies didn't get delayed because movies got made. There was a tentative release.
Yeah.
There was like, oh, yeah, all right, well, the next Mission Impossible, that's going to be
Summer
2013,
right?
But they didn't release a trailer, right? It's just like, oh well, if you're in the industry or if you're looking online or whatever, it's like, all right, well, they're filming now or they're doing this, but once the first trailer comes out and you see, Ethan Hunt or whatever, shooting guns and running away from shit, then the date comes out. Because they're going to hit that date because the movie's ready.
It's already finished.
The movie's done.
It's already finished.
Tom Cruise is already making something else. Like, he's already done. Games don't do that, and it's very unique to games in that they will put release windows and release dates for products that are not done, and in some cases are not close to done.
But I mean, how often do we see them get close to finishing around the same date? I feel like we see it more frequently, or we're seeing it even more frequently now than ever. We're not going to have this game ready now. We're going to have to delay it. And you see it more and more frequently now. It's just becoming a standard practice in the video game industry. And as a consumer,
AAA games, it's
annoying.
I think AAA games are more likely to get delayed than they are than they are to hit their original release date. I like what Sony's been doing. Surprise, surprise. But I do like what Sony's been doing because what they've just been doing is they've been giving release windows or nothing, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, if you don't put a date on it, then you
don't have to delay it. Yeah.
You can't delay it.
Yeah. So
we've had enough. We've had enough. Hey, I'm not saying don't keep the hype train up. I'm not saying don't show progress on the game to get us excited, but don't give us a date. Coming. Like a window.
Yeah. Don't tell us when it's coming out. Just
to
delay it.
I'll pre-order it. I'll give you $60 still. I don't need it. I don't need it on the 14th of July, 2021, unless it's ready.
When it's done.
So,
and that's it.
We can hope that this makes some changes in the right direction. All right, guys. Well, that's it for the news. We're going to move to the new releases for the week. All right, next week we've got Demon Skin on PC, April 13th. Don't know much about that one, do you? Moving on, Final Fantasy XIV Open Beta, PS5, April 13th. This is a game I had a lot of fun in. I played it on PC. I even played it on my PS4 because you could do that. It was great. Love Final Fantasy XIV. What's that?
I remember watching you.
Yeah, it's great.
You were a great character.
Dragoon.
Thanks.
Yeah. So fantastic game. If you haven't played it and you're itching for an MMO that's of the Final Fantasy variety, go for it. Check it out. Ashwalkers: A Survival Journey, PC, April 15th. You guys know about this one? No. All right. Saga Frontier Remastered, PC, PS4, Switch, April 15th. Anything?
It sounds cool.
Yeah, it does. Yep. Sea of Thieves, Season 2, PC, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, April 15th. We've really been enjoying some Sea of Thieves, Zach and I. It's a fun little game to play with your friends. Yeah. Season 2, ought to be cool. All right, Tribal Pass, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, April 16th. Not sure what that is. All right, on Steam, on sale on the Steam store right now. Still, Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition. It is still 40% off. If you still, for some reason, haven't listened to us, today is your chance. Go buy it, play it, it's awesome. Dark Souls 3 Deluxe Edition, the new classic game of the century, is 75% off. You gotta go check that out right now. That's cheap, dirt cheap. Go play it, it's great. It's awesome. And then, last but not least, Halo, the Master Chief Collection is 50% off. If you haven't played a Halo game, now's your time to do it. Because, that's when the name was good, and you might never play a good Halo game again. So, go do it. All right, what's going on over there in Switchland?
We have Bethesda sales still going on. Doom, Skyrim, Wolfenstein, still all on sale from last week. Like 50% off on all of those. So if you haven't played any of those, definitely check them out. Doom 2016 classic, as we discussed. 11-Bit Studios is having a publisher sale. Most notably, Moonlighter. It's a lot of fun.
That's a fantastic game. I will hop on that train. Moonlighter was fantastic.
Love that game. and it plays well on Switch. So we'll recommend. Then we've also got Bandai Namco sale going on. So you've got Dragon Ball Fighters for $10.
Instant classic.
You've got Little Nightmares, Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, Jump Force, Ni no Kuni, a bunch of good options over here. A lot of other ones that aren't as notable, but I'm sure are great. A lot of good Bandai Namco games. And then you still have your Lego games on sale. Lego Harry Potter, Lego Ninjago, Lego The Incredibles. Still kind of childish, but I mean a good time nonetheless. And you still have your 50% off on Activision Blizzard games. So you've got 50% off Diablo 3, 50% off Overwatch, not recommended on Switch, and Spyro Reignited Trilogy is also 50% off.
Still, okay, perfect.
Now,
awesome.
I guess PlayStation, right?
No, I decided that we're going to do something new this episode from now on. Until I get a PS5, we're not talking about any PlayStation games ever again. So that's gonna be it. All right, good night, everyone. Goodbye. We had fun. It was a good episode. And I'm sorry, but maybe go yell at Sony to hurry up and get me a PS5 so we can get you the news on the PS5. All right. Okay. Seriously, go ahead.
I actually did hear that the chips for the PS5 there's like a chip that is so difficult to come across that Apple had to delay their latest iPhone.
That's the issue right now.
I don't have an iPhone, but it's not going to get solved anytime soon. Like Apple's a huge company. If they had to delay their latest iPhone because they couldn't get
chips, that's huge.
Sony's not getting chips for their freaking PS5s, but
and it's not even just that. It's not even just that. You can't even get video cards for PCs right now. It's the same boat. Everyone's in the same boat. All right, but yeah, what do you got? What do you got going on?
The spring sale's still going on. We talked about last week. Every game that I talked about is still discounted. There are some games that I didn't mention, or maybe they're new, but Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled is 60% off right now. It's usually $40. It's $15.99 right now.
Okay.
So scoop that up. Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom, a game I loved, a game I platinumed. I recommend that game. It is half off right now. It is $10. It was $20. So it's still at $20 if you've never played it, but it's even half off that. So I would get that. We talked about the now delayed Deathloop. Well, if you wanted to pre-order it and you have PS Plus, they will give you 10% off the standard edition or the premium edition. It just takes about $6 off the standard edition, about $8 off the premium, but that's,
Hey, it's a deal nonetheless if you're getting day one anyway, yeah.
If you are looking forward to getting that game. And that's the main scoops with when it comes to Sony, that just check out that spring sale if you haven't, because there's a ton of great games, and you can find a couple that you will enjoy.
Yeah, don't take it from us. Just go get on that PS5 you guys got. Take a look at that store and just figure it out on your own, by your own damn selves. All right. Well,
not all of us.
Not all of us are so lucky. Well, that sums it up for today's episode. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like and share and subscribe. It would really help us out, and we'd love to reach more people and have some comments and talk to people.
Yeah, if you leave a comment on this video, we will answer you.
We will respond.
We'll probably put the answer in the next video. So if you have any, and also, what games do you think are classics, like instant classics, recent classics, and classics before? Just let us know down in the comments, because, I'd like to tell you how wrong you are, or correct. That you might be right. I don't know. You're probably wrong.
I don't think they could ever be wrong. I mean, to tell our customers that they're wrong, to tell our friends, our community, that they're wrong. We would never do that, Anre, because, you know, we may be crowned king, but everyone's royalty here. Good night, everyone.
Later.